Well, to make this renovation go by really fast, there was a lot of beforehand. This was the one that we did.
Welcome to Building Wealth Through Real Estate. If you invest or desire to invest in real estate, then this show is exactly what you need. And here's why. We all know that the number one thing that you should be doing as an investor is networking. Your network equals your net worth. But how can you use this to your advantage? Well, firstly, take notes. Listen to what the guests have to say. If you're a new investor, you can learn from the mistakes that they've made, the experiences that they've gone through, and learn how they think. If you're an experienced investor, you could see strategies that they may be implementing that you haven't thought of using yourself. Now, secondly, you may have questions, and if you do, great. Put them in the comment section down below, and this way we can be sure to get those questions answered for you. And thirdly, there's a ton of information out there, but I found that most of it is relevant to the US, and it's hard to try and take out and extract and see what's relevant to your area. So all of the guests that I'll be interviewing are Canadian investors. So if you invest in Canada, if you're interested in investing in Canada, then this show is exactly what you need. Joining us today is Mr. Mitchell Vaillant. Mitch, could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, how you got started in real estate, and your journey to this point?
Absolutely. My journey started in real estate. Well, out of high school, early on, I started working as a carpenter. I'm still doing that currently, but always watched, HGTV shows, saw Scott McGillivray, Brian Bomber, all those guys, and first went to a Keyspire event with Scott McGillivray. Kind of, that's where I kind of first started learning about real estate investing. Joined the Keyspire membership, the team there. Learned lots, met lots of people, and then I was just kind of learning for a while, a couple of years before taking any action, and saw Calvin Hexter hosting a flip tour, his first flip tour, and went on the tour, checked out some homes, met him, and then connected with him, and then he found us a property and bought our first flip shortly after, and that was big learning curve. It was a success, lots of learning, but that's kind of how we got it started.
Yeah. Your education truly really begins when you start getting that experience in, right? That first deal is very educational. But one thing that I have to ask is, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking? You're pretty young. Well, you
Yeah,
look pretty young, at least.
I'm 22. I'm 22.
22.
Yeah.
Nice. And that was a flip property. What strategy are you currently pursuing, and what's your goals for the year ahead?
Well, my girlfriend and I, we have partnered up. We're kind of, tackling it together. We're looking for some flips at the moment. Uh, However, our main focus right now, we've recently started a construction company renovating. Um, I'm getting my general contractor's license. We've got our business license all set up for that. So focusing on, contracting, renovating, helping investors, because I've kind of found out that there's, a need for really solid contractors out there for investors. So we're focusing on that right now. But I mean, if there's, any flip opportunities that do come up, we're ready to jump on that. So that's kind of the two that we're focusing on right now, our business and, more flip opportunities.
That's great, though. I mean, they both tie in together, go hand in hand, and I think there's never a shortage of good contractors. So I think that works out perfectly for you. What sort of things are you looking for when a potential deal crosses your path?
For the actual deal, I mean, flip opportunity, one presents itself. Um, I'm just looking at the property in its entirety. If there's any major work that has to be done, like major expenses, windows, furnace, hot water tank. Um, I mean, I've been looking more at townhouse flips lately, and we're larger expenses don't have to be done, like windows, exterior siding, roof. Um, so keeping the renovation costs low, um, and projects that can be done really quickly in and out at shorter time, reducing our holding costs.
Absolutely. I get that. I mean, your capital that you put in into a townhouse flip is a lot lower than a single family home, and like you say, that turnover time is a lot quicker, so you can get in and out pretty quickly. Holding cost isn't as much. You're less subjected to market swings. So yeah, I love that strategy. And it makes sense now that you mentioned you getting licensed as a general contractor, because I've noticed that you are very hands-on when it comes to renovating. How much are you doing yourself, or how much do you plan on doing yourself going forward with these flips, and how much would you sort of be outsourcing?
Well, I like to, be a little bit hands on. I mean, my first flip that I did was very hands on. Mostly did, all the work. That was too much. Um, but I like to be somewhat involved, keeping up with, the sub trades that I hire. Um, I typically like to do some of the finishing stuff because I'm very efficient and do a very good job as I'm a carpenter. Um, but I'm, hiring out, the tile install, flooring install, plumbers, electricians, drywall taper, painter. Um, I like to have, a team working together, a good solid team to, get a really solid finish, of a product, of a flip. Um, but yeah, so like, finding a good balance.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's knowing when to leverage and outsource it, and knowing where your skills lie and where you can sort of direct your effort to. I love that. Now, you'd probably have a unique perspective on this. Um, how do you go about estimating your repair cost before putting in an offer? Now, with your initial one, you went into that as a carpenter, but going forward, you'd be a general contractor. So I'd like to hear your perspective on estimating those repair costs, and maybe people can find some tips within that.
For sure. Like, I mean, as a carpenter and more, sorry, my general contracting business, like I have a pretty good general idea of, what all costs are, for material and labor. Like when I'm going through properties, I mean, I know like, a smaller kitchen, like I just know certain prices of things like $10,000 for a smaller kitchen, um, you know, depending on square footage, like $5,000 for flooring. Like I kind of I don't get too much into the detail. I just, have good knowledge of what everything should cost around. Like the latest flip that my girlfriend and I did, like we put an offer in without even viewing the property, just looking through the photos and just had, everything looked pretty simple. And I just had an idea of what everything would cost, general cost. And, you know, we try and, lower our renovation cost by finding clearance items and shopping on Amazon or whatnot, find the best prices. But um, for the most part, it's just experience that I've had. Experience is a big thing. Just knowing what everything costs and labor, material. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Experience definitely helps you dial in on being more accurate with regards to running those numbers. Uh, One thing though is, what advice would you have for people out there? Just go get quotes initially so they can have good figures. Because I know everyone has sort of a spectrum which they sort of comfortable with when it comes to estimating their rehab costs. Some people go like really itemized, other people more broad, like by the room kind of thing. Um, so I always like to hear how people go about estimating that. But you're absolutely right. With experience comes that confidence to know. I mean, to the point where with you, you're just able to estimate that, know what that is, and not even have to view the property in order to get those numbers together. So I think that will make you a lot more efficient, especially in the more competitive markets, when you need to be able to act quickly at getting those deals. So yeah, I love that though. How are you accounting for like contingencies for each property, and what advice do you have for newer investors who aren't as confident in their numbers and get stuck when they run their numbers? How do they get that confidence? Now I know of course it comes with experience, right? But is there any
Yeah.
way that they can get enough confidence for that first deal to know that, hey, I can pull the trigger and feel confident enough that my numbers are somewhat in within that ballpark figure?
Yeah, well, I think it helps having a good contractor coming and helping you, giving you quotes before buying, a potential property that you're looking at. Repetition helps. Looking at more properties, try and get an idea of what everything costs, doing your due diligence, going to suppliers, see what items cost. Um, and then like once you kind of, go through all your items, kitchen, flooring, trim, um, you know, have your budget, and then probably if it's your first time, add like 15% on top of whatever your renovation is. And if your numbers still work, um, and you're conservative with your renovation cost, um, you should be pretty good as long as talking to a contractor. Find out where all your costs are, your big costs. Um, you know, yeah, stuff like that. Just going over all the costs.
I couldn't agree more. I think you gave a lot of great advice there. Yeah, people should, especially newer investors who don't know a lot. Firstly, your power team is there to help you. So having a good, reliable, investor-focused contractor is a big asset to making you feel confident in those numbers. And then, like you're saying, just going and having a look to see what those materials would cost and being conservative, again, just helps you feel more confident in knowing, look, this would be the material that I'd buy for the flip. This is sort of the quality that I'm going for, and that's the material cost. I have an idea on what the labor would cost as well after speaking to a reliable contractor. Don't go Google and just take the first contractor you find. Rather go with a referral. So build up your network of local investors within your area and get referrals that way. Of course, it's not always easy because good contractors, investors tend to really hold on to them because they want them available for their properties and their deals. But that being said, having your network really helps when it comes to referrals. So getting that good contractor, going out and having an idea on what those supplies are going to cost. I think that is awesome advice. And like you say, just getting the reps in, having a good contingency. And if it still works, I feel like go ahead. You should feel confident enough. I like that advice, Mitch. Now I went through your previous flip and I saw that you used the basement space very, very efficiently. Instead of having like a huge utility room with like wasted unfinished space, you were able to make it like very compact yet sort of accessible. What advice do you have for investors trying to get as much out of their basements? I mean, this is especially useful when adding a basement suite, but just in general, what advice do you have on that?
Totally. I mean, of course, you want as much living space, usable living space that you can have. That increases your value, increases your rent if it's basement suite. Um, you know, really have a good layout plan of what you want your basement to look like or your upstairs when you're renovating. Um, I like to draw everything out to scale and go through some ideas if I'm changing layouts. Because I mean, you want the highest price, the highest rents. So the highest living space that you can have really helps with that. So it's planning and designing. A little bit of trial and error, but repetition, of course, helps with that as well.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice there is, I mean, of course, it's really important when you get into the deal to get things going, right? Keep that turnover time short. Um, and it's exciting to start the demo and exciting to have everything happen so you can see the whole transformation. But like you said, I think it's important to focus on that initial design phase, to make sure that you're setting everything up as optimally as possible. Honestly, I love the design and the layout of that basement suite. I think you did an awesome job. Very unique from what I've seen, at least. So, yeah, I love that advice. Now, you also somewhat famous for having such a short turnover time on a fix and flip. Everyone knows that time is money. You can keep your holding costs down. You can be less susceptible to market changes. And if it's a rental, you can get tenants in faster to get that rental income coming in and reduce the vacancy. What are some things that you did to sort of speed this process up? Here's a quick tip for you listeners out there. As a real estate investor, there's two things that you can focus on that will bring everything else together. The first thing is networking. Go out there and network with other like-minded investors. Look in your area, see what networking events there are, and go and join them. If you're within the Edmonton area, by all means, find my contact info below. I'll hook you up with local events, and you can make sure that you go and attend as many as possible. Grow your network, grow your net worth. The second thing I'd say is your power team. You'll come to leverage them quite often. You rely on them to make investing easier for you. They have the expertise that you don't need to have. So I'd make sure that I focus on building a strong power team. If you are in the Edmonton region, you're looking for an investor focused realtor, by all means hit me up. I am licensed. I do have an investor list as well that I just send deals out to investors on my list. So if you are interested in being added to that as well, you can contact me below. I'll make sure to add you. Let's get back to it.
Well, to make this renovation go by really fast, there was a lot of planning beforehand. This was the one that we didn't view, before putting an offer in. Um, but lots of planning ahead for materials, planning sub trades out. I have good knowledge of how long everything should take, so I had my calendar. I was inputting where all the sub trades were going to be coming in. Um, I had everything ordered beforehand, almost everything, not quite, but I had some help with demo, and first day had some people come help me demo, and then we had sub trades getting in there first thing, just getting them booked in advance because you know trades are busy; they can't just come the next day. So I mean, just really planning way in, as much in advance as you can, and having materials there. Um, and yeah, it went pretty smooth. Like I was hands on for some of it. I was doing the kitchen, um, all the trim, the carpentry related stuff, and I hung the light fixtures. So I was still working full time. So I wasn't there 24/7. So it was just lots of planning and organizing. That's definitely number one.
Absolutely. It's been proactive and it seems like you've done a great job at that. One thing that I've picked up, and like I say all the time, is every single interview that I do, I just get different takes and just different little tips. So one thing that I haven't heard yet is putting it in your calendar. I love that. I love that is scheduling it all out in your calendar. That's
Yeah.
organization at its finest. That's being organized. That's knowing what comes next and staying on top of things. um Getting those sub trades booked way in advance, I love that as well, because yes, that's one of the biggest things is you know things things not happening on time is because you have delays in getting them in. Now, do you have any advice on people? I'm not sure if you had any delays with regards to sub trades or anything like that. Any advice on people feeling confident that, hey, I've booked all of this in advance, I have everything scheduled out, no one's going to flake on me? um did you just have that confidence? Did you have any issues with regards to that? Did you know that they were all going to show up on time, and did they?
Um, of course, you don't always know. Things come up, and sometimes they can't come. For the most part, they're pretty good. This one plumber that I had hired to change out the shower valve and install the new tub. Um, I don't know. I did find him. He seemed knowledgeable. I didn't really vet him enough, but when he went to install the shower valve for my new shower fixture, um, it was installed improperly. I never realized it until the tile was up, and then the shower fixtures didn't go on. So that was a bit of a hiccup. So ended up having to get another plumber, cut out a hole in the back side of the wall, and fixing the plumbing inside the wall. That was a bit of a hiccup. but all the other trades that I had hired were pretty solid. They came on time, got their tasks done relatively promptly. But that was kind of the one hiccup that I did had that took a bit longer than expected.
And I mean, these things happen. You generally don't. It's not usual that everything is smooth sailing all the way. But I like the fact that you took control of what you could. You were proactive in prepping materials. I know the ones when we met up, you said you cut out, like, you went to go size all the baseboards. You cut them all out beforehand, so you had things ready to go. I love that. That's like proactive at its finest. And you
Yeah,
did all of this while working full time. Super super impressive, man. I think people can take a lot of tips from that and model that after you so that they can turn over shorten their turnover time. Now, what are some things that you do to try and stand out from the competition and just increase that desirability without cutting too deep into your budget?
for sure. I mean, some cool accents, definitely help to try and stand out. One thing that's becoming more popular is feature walls. I like
Yeah.
to do feature walls that are, inexpensive, not a lot of material, like doing some asymmetric, trim pattern on a wall and painting it, another color. Just gives it a bit more of a wow effect. Some really nice fixtures, like, something that stands out, like in our bathroom. We did gold fixtures, had a lot of compliments. Obviously, it's not for everyone, but just doing some really cool touches that not everyone does. Like our townhouse, we put astroturf in the backyard um, and hung some string lights. We had a bunch of compliments on that, and wasn't too expensive. Still kept the cost reasonable.
Yeah, I love that. That's great advice. Instead of trying to cut everywhere and just keep it as basic as possible, increasing your time that you're on the market because you're not really standing out from the competition, as looking for those relatively inexpensive value adds that just help you differentiate yourself. Accent walls are they're a big thing right now, but I particularly like the string lights. Outside. I mean, it's not that expensive to get some string lights together, and who doesn't love string lights in
Exactly.
their backyard, right? So, yeah, just looking for those little things that you can add. I think that's great advice. I do see that you partnered up with your mom on a flip property. Firstly, I think that is awesome. I hope that my kids share the same passion for real estate. Um, but what were some things that you learned from her with regards to real estate investing?
Well, that was the first one that we took on together, my mom and I, after Calvin's flip tour. Um, we were both kind of getting started. She's a master electrician, so she knows a lot of electrical,
I
which
see.
she passed on to me, which helps. Um, you know, she was a big planner, so I kind of took that from her. I like planning ahead now. Uh, she's very organized, but like when it comes to real estate, we both kind of jumped into it, you know, head first. We were both new to it, but yeah, just doing that, we were learning together on that first one.
Oh man, I love that. I think that's even better. Both of you just jumping in head first. It's not like she was seasoned at all of this. You guys both went into it together, and yeah, I mean, the planning, organizing. I think that is a great takeaway from it, right? Especially when it comes to flip properties, is getting in and out as quickly as you can, being proactive about everything, planning it out. I even see you have like a whiteboard calendar behind you. So I mean, it just shows that you practice what you preach, man. I love it. I love it. Um, what are some mistakes that you've made and some lessons that you've learned that sort of stand out the most to you thus far in your journey?
Some lessons with real estate. Having a power team, I think that's crucial. Uh, you just can't do it all yourself. It's impossible. It's too hard. You need a big power team of individuals who have their strong suits, who know their stuff. Contractors, realtors like yourself. Um, Other sub trades. Just a big network of people. um, is definitely crucial. Even other like joint venture partners or other fix and flippers, that bouncing ideas off each other. Um, I think just having a large network of people is very key.
That is great advice. I love that. People often get confused, like, hey, is real estate a numbers game or is it a relationships game? And it's not a trade-off between the two. It's both, right? It's running your numbers and making sure a deal works and not going into it emotionally. But it's very much a relationships game. Is it's leveraging other people's resources, their knowledge, their expertise. If it's a joint venture, you may be leveraging someone else's time or someone else's money or someone else's ability to um, get financing, whatever it is. It's definitely a relationships game, and if you can really nail down on that, if you can network, if you can grow your power team, you don't have to know everything. You really don't. I initially, my initial thought was I need to learn everything about everything before I can get into real estate, and it's not true. If you look at any organization, any business, it's the power of a team. So I love that advice, Mitch. That's perfect. Now, since one of the biggest problems that new investors have is actually, like we've mentioned, analyzing deals and sort of understanding how an investor thinks, would you mind if we run through your latest deal?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. So, what kind of property is it and where is it located?
This was a townhouse down in Mill Woods. It was 1973, I believe. So, typical townhouse style, 2-story.
Okay, and this one you found through Calvin, right? You found this one through a realtor?
I did, yes. It was on market. Um, he sent it my way and, took a look at it and liked the looks of it. Numbers were, worked.
Perfect. Yeah. Again, power of your power team, your network. They do a lot of the work for you, so you got it sent your way, and then your job from there is to sort of run through the numbers and see if it works for you, right? So, could you run us through the numbers?
Yes. We end up purchasing it for 131,500. I believe it was listed at 136 initially. Our renovation was about 31,000, and that was a new kitchen, new floor, paint, trim, a full bath and a half bath. Um, that was kind of the scope of the work. Our holding cost was about $6,000. Closing and realtor fees 15,000. And we ended up selling the property for $195,000, which left us with about $9,000 in our pockets. For it was it ended up being a 26-day renovation.
26 day.
Yeah.
Damn, 1 month in and out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it, man. And I mean, the fact that it's a townhouse, again, less scope of work to do. So even for people jumping in, if you don't want to tackle something with a whole broad scope, like, changing out the roofs, a lot of the exterior stuff, then townhouse is a great option as well, right? Um, build up your confidence in your numbers, and then, I mean, you could always tackle bigger things. But I love that in and out, man. What was this whole process like, this 26 days? Were there any challenges, and how were you able to just shoot through them, man?
I know it was really fun, exciting. My girlfriend and I, we you know, planning ahead of everything. Um, just working together through the whole thing. There weren't really too many challenges. Just managing lots of people. We spent a couple weekends there. A few weekends. There was only about 3 weekends in the 26 days. Um, and I mean, she was still in school and worked part time. I still worked full time, so it was just going there in the evenings for a couple nights during the week and getting some stuff done during the weekends. So
Oh
Yeah.
man, I love that. I love that. I feel like I wish I was doing all of this at your age. You know what I mean? Like you are on top of it. And again, you probably didn't have as many challenges because you're so proactive about everything. You know, because you planning everything out. You ahead of anything before it happens. I feel like that's the best way to sort of mitigate and decrease the odds of you running into any problems. Now that being said, of course, unforeseen things do happen that's sort of out of your control, but I think that's why things go so smoothly for you, because just from speaking to you, I really get the impression that you are very proactive, you're very upfront about making sure you've planned for everything that's within your control. So I love that, Mitch. Now I'd usually ask this question is like, looking back on the deal, is there anything that you would have done differently? I'm not sure. Have you learned anything from this deal that you can take away that you would do differently going forward, or how
Uh,
did that go?
Probably. I mean, just the one issue with the plumber. Just find really solid sub trades. Referrals are definitely best, but I think just find really quality sub trades that yeah, can get the work done. And show up on time when they say they're gonna come. I think that's number one. That'd be number one.
And you may have to filter through a few people, but once you get that solid reliable person, then that's sort of your go-to, right? And then you guys have that relationship going forward for the long haul. So yeah, that is great advice. Is you're going to put your power team together, and sometimes you're going to have to pull a few out and replace them with more reliable people, and or people that more align with with where you're headed. But once you have your team, you have them for the long haul. So yeah, that's terrific advice. I love that. Um, Now, side note, Mitch, when you are not investing, when you're not working, how are you spending your time?
Outside of work, outside of investing, it's a small amount of time. A lot of it is definitely focused on, investing, growing our business. Um, for the most part, being active. Uh, I play hockey and golf. That's kind of the go-to. Um, and Yeah, yeah. Lately it's been a lot of focus on work though. Growing our contracting business. But yeah.
Absolutely. I firmly believe if you do what you're passionate about, then that's where you spend most of your time anyway. And it's not like you need to run away from doing that to do something else, right? It's more when you're stuck in a 9 to 5 or doing something that you're really not interested in, that you find you need to break away and do a whole bunch of other things. But that being said, golf. I want to touch on golf. I saw your video on Facebook. Super funny. I love that drive. Anyone wondering, if you're interested, I'll leave Mitch's information down in the description. You can go check that
Yeah.
video out. Super funny, man. Oh, I was in stitches when I saw that. My brother actually did something very similar with a
We're,
driver, and
we're
yeah, shot it right off. So yeah, I love that, man. That being said, where can listeners find out more about you?
well, we're starting our business. Still haven't gotten a website. That'll be up and running shortly. Um, Instagram, um, or Facebook. My name is Mitchell Vaillant, or our Instagram is Malto Investments. Um, but yeah, our business name is Malto Developments Limited, our contracting business. Um, but yeah, Facebook, my personal, or Instagram, personal or our business.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll link all of that below. And who knows, by the time people are watching this going ahead in the future, the website may be up, and I'm sure they'll be able to navigate and find it through your social media anyway. So
So,
I'll leave all your contact info in the description below. People can link up with you, check you out. And I mean, if they're in the Edmonton area, definitely contact you for your services, man. I've definitely linked up with a few investors that have used you on their projects, and I've even seen the work that you've done. So yeah, I like what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. So I definitely recommend, if anyone's in the Edmonton area and could use Mitch's service, reach out to him, guys. I'll leave his contact info below. Mitch, honestly, I want to thank you for this episode. It is short and sweet, my man, but there's a lot of value that people can take from this one. I found value in this. Had a great time chatting with you. I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule, your busy schedule, which I can see there behind you, and giving back to the public. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Building Wealth Through Real Estate. If you're interested in learning how you can win in the market right now, then you definitely want to check out the episode where I interview Calvin Hexter. This is your host, Alray Noble, signing off.